Aloha, this is Santa Surfing and welcome to Beach Broadcast. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. Oh my goodness gracious. I've got to do, I don't know, I probably have to do about 10 podcasts a week just to catch up with everything. So I'm going to do the best I can, but this is going to be more on swamp related news, swamp monster news. Thanks so much for joining us on santasurfing.locals.com as well as on x.com as a subscriber. I really appreciate it so much. Hopefully the content going out there is enough for you to go ahead and share with all your friends and family. If you want to find me, again, I'm just saying this, you never know what's going to happen. My daily shows are on YouTube. My backup video is on Rumble. That usually gets posted the day after. So if you want current information, current videos, it will be on YouTube. My radio will be posted once a week, and these are all the socials. Between President Trump's presser with President Marco from the Philippines at the White House yesterday, and Tulsi Gabbard's report and many other things coming out, this is imminent. This is not hopium. This is absolutely imminent about Obama getting arrested along with his cronies, all of his dirty cronies. President Trump, now, if you take a look, and this is why I need to do another podcast. I just don't know if I have the time to do it today about the gold. Oh my gosh, that's really big. But the President Trump, he had a presser yesterday, and I'm going to show this part of the clip. It's about 6 minutes long because it's nothing but big bombs, 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 bombs. Check this out.
Mr. President, do you support the Justice Department seeking a new interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, and did you urge the Attorney General to seek one?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
Your Deputy Attorney General is reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asking for a new interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do. Yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, who's your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given your past relationship?
He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President? Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up that came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, and admitted fraud. She paid $12 million, and the Democrats, for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is, but in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit, we can't put this in. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper. And it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier? I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got published a couple of months after the election. And frankly, nobody cared too much about it. But that was a big thing. No, we caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama. They're the ones. And then you have many, many people under them. Susan Rice. They're all there. The names are all there. And I guess they figured they're going to put this in classified information and nobody will ever see it again, but it doesn't work that way. And it's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you ought to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense, because this is big stuff. Never has a thing like this happened in the history of our country. And by the way, it morphed into the 2020 race. And the 2020 race was rigged, and it was a rigged election. And because it was rigged, we have millions of people in our country. We had inflation. We solved the inflation problem. But millions and millions of people came into our country because of that. And people that shouldn't have been, people from gangs and from jails and from mental institutions, people that we don't want in our country, people that we're getting out, dangerous people. 11,888 murderers, many of them 50%, more than 50%, murdered more than one person. I hate to say this with such a distinguished guest, but you know, they asked me a question. I got to answer the question. No, Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden, and so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig an election, and they got caught. And then they did rig the election in 2020. And then because I knew I won that election by a lot, I did it a third time, and I won in a landslide. Every swing state won the popular vote. But I won that all the same way in 2020. And look at the damage that was caused.
He just dropped some bombs on that one, right? He just kind of pretty much addressed the witch hunt. Everything he and you and I were talking about for years. Finally, it's finally coming out. But he did say this, they got caught. You all catch that? And when he says, and when we caught Hillary, the ex-wife of the former president. So that means that Hillary and Bill got divorced, right? You know, just a few things in here. Then he was talking about putting up the Declaration of Independence in the room, which is telling me, again, you decide, that he is following the Constitution and that the other president, Loser Barry and Biden, they didn't want to follow the Constitution. They didn't have that in the room. So he was making that very clear. And then he was talking about when he said Obama, the leader of the gang. Okay, he's calling it a gang now. He's just being very, very bold and brazen, called it treason. How Obama was shielded by the press. Guys, this was a very big presser. They have all documents, right? And but he did make it clear it was Obama's idea with Hillary Clinton. So it started out with Obama, and Obama, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, and now Hillary's getting roped into this as well, which tells me, I wonder if this is going to be more of a grand slam. But anyway, the press refused to write it. He had to say that for a reason, because the press, if they were involved in this, and I'll show you some posts of what he'd been putting out there over the years about the press and treason. And then talking about the Wall Street Journal, he's suing them. News won't publish they didn't want to publish about the Steele dossier, which he thought was kind of weird, but he said, we caught Obama and Hillary Clinton, which is really big, and it was a rigged election. Which election was he talking about? Then he says, he said this many times, 11,888, and he also emphasized 3. Did you notice that? He emphasized 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't play that clip, but he did mention 3, and he emphasized 3 a couple of times when he was talking about the Federal Reserve should lower the rates by 3 points. I'm going to get to that right now. He mentions 11,888. What that to me tells me, because this is all a military operation, it adds up. If you add up all the numbers, it comes up to 26. Q26 is, think about it logically, the only way is the military fully controlled, save and spread once 11.3 verifies as first marker, which could be the election, law of war, DOD. Again, many different references to 11.3. Biggest advance drop on the board. Hold that thought. I'm going to get to it when I read something else. I tied in some stuff here. Okay, then these are the posts. President Trump, he's been notifying the world about their treason, and nobody wanted to pay attention. The news didn't want to pick up on it. Nothing. Treason committed by Obama, Hillary, Schiff, fake news, Mike Pence, etc., etc. So what I did is I went on quag.news, QAGG.news. You can search for President Trump, Ildonado posts on Truth and on X, and you can find all these. And you just have to do a search term on treason and then a sub-search term if you want to search a little bit more. Here he's talking about Mike Pence is a coward and a treasonous piece of you know what. Okay, so he's going there, no, not holding back. He's talking about, for all those media fools who say everything was up and up with the 2020 election, then go to the report about the 51 intelligence agencies that wrote a letter spreading disinformation, and which of course the media hid, and the Hunter Biden's famous laptop, knowing it was fake, fake and treasonous. They knew that what this was in terms of the 51 intelligence agencies, but which, by the way, they lost their security clearances. They wrote a letter spreading disinformation and pretty much not giving any kind of, they're saying that was fake, that the laptop, no, that's not true. But that was treasonous just days before the election. You have committed an unpardonable sin. So he's going after the media as well. And the media knows this. Then he posts this about Intel veteran. This was back in 2023. It was a repost of Colin Rugg. Intel veteran who signed the infamous letter claiming Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation admits he knew it was real the whole time. This is treason. And President Trump through Ildonado posted, boom. Again, we all knew this was treason. Mike Pence again about running for president of a small country called treasonous little Blankistan. Back in 2020, he was calling Obama, Biden, Hillary, many others caught with treason and acts of spying. Spying, guys. Again, remember, this Watergate's going to look like a little gecko compared to this Godzilla that they're exposing right now. The bigger question is, how is Biden now allowed to run for president? Exactly. And then every single George Soros-funded releasing prosecutor in America should be tried for treason. So he's talking about prosecutors, treasonous acts. He's talking about Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, high crimes, misdemeanors, and even treason. Then he's talking about Black Lives Matter, treason. He's talking about the biggest abuse of power, corruption scandal in the history, and it's much worse than McCabe, much worse than we thought. McCabe, the FBI, admitted to plotting a coup when he was serving as the FBI before he was fired for lying and leaking, and then he posted treason. And then this one right here. And President Trump isn't letting up, but he is calling it. So they are the most dishonest and corrupt, but Comcast. They are they're almost as all dishonest and corrupt as Comcast, with its one-sided, vicious coverage by NBC, and in particular MSNBC, often and correctly referred to as MSDNC, should be investigated for its country-threatening treason. So again, fake news is going to be next on the chopping block. So if the world knew the truth, they'd have a better idea of how corrupt the Democrat Party really is. Not saying that Republicans are saints. There are corrupt ones, and we call them rhinos. But if the world knew that Biden is a complete idiot, that was so incompetent, we wouldn't have faced 4 years of tyranny and hardship because of him. And once the world learns that the 2020 election was stolen, they will wish they could redo the past 4 years, because the past 4 years, it really set many people back. It set you back, yeah? Liberals would never admit this, but one can guarantee that their lives got worse under Biden. Now President Trump isn't holding back at all. In fact, he is unleashing so much truth that he posted this about Hillary getting tossed into the van like a sack of potatoes, while surfers, Anons, saw this, and as we saw this as she was getting detained, the liberal world saw that she was dehydrated, and then the body double came out a few hours later. President Trump went there through El Dorado. These are big. Again, remember my last podcast these are comms. Dan Scavino, President Trump, El Dorado, they're all posting comms of what is coming. We've seen the connection. They post something happens. They post something else, something happens. So that we're getting very close. President Trump through El Dorado, we seem to be running out of conspiracy theories. Ha, 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 ha. Check this out. And then here, you've got Hillary. You can see her hands are tied. But this is President Trump through El Dorado posting this, guys. Anons used to post this. Now he's putting it out there. Tulsi puts out a presser. It kind of confirms everything we've already talked about. He gave a presser. And then I believe you decide that Hillary may be the very first person to get arrested, because she said, if I'm indicted, I will take down half of DC with me. Good. Make it a lot easier for President Trump's DOJ to do their job in terms of getting the arrest done, because she'll expedite the process very, very much so. And then here's Bill Clinton when he's out campaigning for Kamala Harris last year, and how he talks about himself in the third person. I'm going to have you listen to this clip, but he does talk about putting himself into Guantanamo Bay.
In his wisdom is a threat, right? You sign the oath says you promise to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And he said, I think I'll start with domestic. Bring me the Army. Now, I used to like President Clinton. I once said only he and Ronald Reagan were the great presidents since World War II. But I've had a change of heart, and I think he needs to go away for a long time. And I'm not going to execute him, although I could, under the Supreme Court's ruling. But I think I'll just send him to the Colorado Supermax for the rest of his life. So I've already got a petition ready. I want him to transfer me to Guantanamo. Because when you're 78, you're a lot more worried about it being too cold than being too hot.
Okay, he sounded like Biden in some ways, but again, he is talking about himself and as the third person, and he is actually saying he'd rather go to Guantanamo. Okay, there you go. We have it all posted a very, very like a slow motion of what happened, and he caught a few things on this. Check this out. He's pointing to the handcuffs. He's pointing to the handcuffs right here. And again, he's going in slow motion. And this video pretty much puts things into perspective. And I'm going to put in I'll share some remarks that were shared on replies. But here you go. Here's Hillary. And again, if she wasn't feeling very well, why is a van picking her up instead of an ambulance, right? And here she is. There it is. Her hands are behind her back. Yeah, so she gets tossed in like a sack of potatoes, and even Ginny asked if she really had a health problem, why wouldn't she have an ambulance take her to the hospital, right? And then, of course, we saw 3 hours later, she went to her daughter's apartment in New York, and 3 hours later, she comes downstairs. She shrank about 4 inches. The body double came out in their pantsuit, and she was saying, I'm fine, everything is fine. But that video right there kind of definitely gives you a better idea of what happened. So President Trump, through Il Donato, was trying to get that out there. Now, I was trying to post that same original video, but X wouldn't let me post it. Okay. Then, of course, we know weeks later, Hillary miraculously shows up for a debate and nervously laughs when President Trump tells her that she'd be in jail.
Can fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate, we had millions of people fact checking, so I expect we'll have millions more fact checking because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
And of course, the moderators, Anderson Cooper, they're like, you have to be silent, audience. You can't be clapping. And it's like, man, I'll tell you, that was a very, very big moment. And that's when President Trump won a lot of people to support him because he was just going there. So do you see what the Democrats are trying to do? They're slipping in a body double, somebody else to slip in for Hillary to do these debates. The dirty swamp, they weren't prepared for President Trump to win. They put together the Steele dossier that's now making headlines, well, at least headlines with the anons and surfers. They put together that Steele dossier, tried to set him up. It didn't stick because President Trump won the election. And then they went ahead and ran with it. They manufactured it, ran with it after he was elected so that he didn't even have a peaceful transfer of power, which makes me wonder, is he going to get 2016 back? Dirty Swamp, they weren't prepared for that. They needed Hillary, the clone, the lookalike, the de facto puppet president to run the country into the ground. Biden steps in 2020, and that idiot stole the election so he and the swamp can run the Obama-Hillary plan to destroy humanity. But how in the heck did this idiot ever win he couldn't even fill 30 circles at one of his rallies, and over half of these is the media, yeah? So even the media, I think some were sitting there going, I wonder how come. President Trump posted this post here and then deleted it. Will this truth ever come out? It's Hunter Biden, or Hayden Biden, excuse me, and Obama. This is actually posted by somebody else, Oscar, the Midnight Rider, and this is back in 2020 when it was posted. Hayden Biden and Obama may have had SEAL Team 6 killed. Explosive CIA whistleblower exposes Biden's alleged role with the deaths of SEAL Team claims to have documented proof, and it says retweet. You can't click on that article. The article is missing. President Trump, he retweeted it and then deleted it, and that was back in 2020. How big was that? Yeah. Did Obama pay $1.7 billion to Iran to silence Iran from the truth about bin Laden? Iran holds a lot of secrets, a lot. Uranium One, bin Laden. President Trump, remember, he recently made a tariff deal with Iran. When that happened, you know the swamp 2.0s, body doubles, clones, whatever, their handlers were freaking out because Iran, what deal did they make, right? Here, you give me your secrets and I'll go ahead and give you a deal. President Trump, he retweeted this post in June of 2025. It's Obama sitting in front of a pile of cash. The post says, we will never forget in September 2016, the Obama administration admitted paying $1.7 billion to Iran. And so my question is, what was the payment for? And it was a pile of cash sent in containers, right? It was sent in containers. So did they want to silence Iran about the truth about bin Laden and the events that unfolded, right? The U-1 scandal as well, right? Which leads us to when President Trump talked about 3 in his presser with the president of the Philippines. He was making it very clear with the president of the Philippines when he was not to, but to the media. He mentioned 3. He said we should be down 3 points. 3 points. He said it a couple of times. Led me to Q3, which takes me to this post right here. And I'm just going through the highlighted areas. It's open your eyes. It finally came out that Rod Rosenstein, Bob Mueller were the key players in the uranium scandal. POTUS has everything. Operation Mockingbird, which is the media. Priority to clean out the bad actors to unite behind the America First agenda. Many in our government worship Satan, not about Republicans versus Democrat at this stage. That's exactly word for word what Tulsi Gabbard said at her presser today. It's not about Republicans versus Democrats at this stage. Where is HRC? Why is the National Guard called up across 12 cities? Trust in your president. God bless patriots. So it's just telling us that he knew. There you got the 2 people involved. So are we going to wait until Rod Rosenstein, Bob Mueller all of a sudden get involved? They're implicated. POTUS says everything. It's not about the Democrats or Republicans. Trust in your president, meaning let President Trump do things his way. He knows how and when the events will unfold. We know it's going to happen. We know that President Trump is ready to go ahead and unleash and get these people taken care of, and will we be alive during the time to see these happen, right? Because I know many of you are getting very anxious, very anxious, but I look at more of the greatness stuff of what's coming, and that would have to be my next podcast because I did want to talk about the deal he made with Indonesia. So he's made a deal with Iran, he's made a deal with Vietnam, he's made a deal with Indonesia, and that kind of ties into what many of you are very, 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 very interested in. And the White House posted a very big post about gold, but I'll get into that with my next podcast. We know how the left works. It's going to be so predictable. Obama treason is trending. And of course, it's release the Trump. They don't have anything left. Release the Trump thing, whatever it's going to be. Who knows what it's going to be. So this is going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds. And Gitmo was trending today. Treason's trended a couple times today. President Obama's trending. Russiagate and treason is trending. And look what else is trending as I'm recording this podcast, which is going to tie into this video clip I'm going to share with you coming from Fox News. And it really is a hat tip to all the surfers. I want to say thank you for your hard work. There's no I in surfers. It's not me. It's us. We work as a team. When I talk about surfers, I talk about we're surfing online. A lot of surfers online. And why would surf be trending in a news like X? Okay, so I just thought that's kind of interesting. Thank you, White Hats. I appreciate it. Okay, so let me go ahead and close with this video. I think you guys are going to all just be doing the Sammy dance. Yeah, so we haven't seen Sammy for a while. Hey, hang on. Yeah, go surfers. Go boss man. Go Sammy. We haven't seen him in a while, so good to see you, Sammy. Y'all need to get your dancing shoes ready because I have a funny feeling we're going to be doing a lot of this, and then we'll be just dropping some pain absolve to take away the pain. Anyway, have a beautiful evening. Enjoy this video by Fox News, and it really is a big shout out to surfers. God bless you all. Even President Trump was stressing, everybody watch Sean Hannity tonight. He really gets it. 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now I'll have you listen to the big shout out to surfers, the segment on that.
Take a shot and move on to the next celebration. I mean,
there have been so many amazing things. But my second point is, I want to remind everybody that as surfers, when they see the big wave coming, they rush out with their surfboard. There is an economic tidal wave in America, and it's starting and it's building. Stop whatever you're doing. Now's the time to start that new business. Now's the time to pick up that skill. If you are an American, this is an amazing period of time for you to get engaged. Don't let this prosperity opportunity pass you by.